Hey guys. Um, yeah, just wanted to pop on here and just talk about my experience and my why and um, how I got into trail running because it's actually quite a cool story. My first trail race was 7 years ago, and I was barely a runner. Like I did some running maybe once or twice a week, and I didn't think much of it. Like I didn't think it was a talent. It felt like the hardest thing to do in the world. I was running maybe 5 to 8 kilometers at max, and I had no running gear. Like I had Lululemon pants, and I think I had Nike Flex shoes. Like very very inexperienced, and I started running, and a work friend of mine, one of my favorite friends, encouraged me to sign up for a Five Peaks race. And it was 14 kilometers or something. And I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But it was because of Jenna. She encouraged me to run, and she was such a strong runner. I still like idolize her because of her running. Um, like this girl can run 10 kilometers in 38 minutes. So that's a strong runner. We got to the trail race and we did it. And my biggest memory is her her running up the hills and cheering me as I was struggling to go up them, even just walking, let alone trying to run up them. And it was the hardest thing I'd ever done, that 14 kilometers. And after I finished it, I didn't even feel like I was good at it or that I had done something good. I was like, oh my gosh, that was so challenging. So I kept at it and I kept running. And I remember I got up to a half marathon pace or a half marathon distance. And I did my first half marathon in Calgary at the Scotiabank Marathon. And I believe that was maybe a year or two after I started doing those trail races. And I thought that 21 kilometers was the most I would ever do. And I remember at the time I um, was close with someone who said that before they turned 40 they wanted to run a marathon, and I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, in my own head I was thinking that's such a silly goal. And I had some health issues in 2017 happen, and it crippled me, and I needed 2 surgeries. And the surgeries were on my pelvis, and my surgeon even said that I wouldn't be able to do half marathons after the surgery that I had, the first one, let alone the second one. And in my own mind, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like if I can't run, I don't know what I'm going to do. So secretly, I was running after I recovered from my first surgery. And I remember starting the journey of recovery. I sanded the 2 bedside tables, like the one that's right behind me. I remember I sanded down and restained those, recovering, and my goal was to just get stronger. But secretly I was running, like I was running across the street, and then I started running more, and I eventually proved my surgeon wrong. And to this day I still surprise her because I was one of the most severe cases that she had ever operated on, and I was the best patient, or I was the most highly recovered patient at the end of the day. And she did not foresee that even for her own patients. So, um, that really empowered me in my recovery. And I really encourage people to, if they're going through health struggles or something that's defeating them, to really, do the stuff that makes them feel good and go there, because, you know, even medical experts can be wrong. It's not like my surgeon was trying to like make me feel depressed or limit my capabilities, but um, I don't think that she knew what kind of human being I was. And anyways, going through those tough times in my life, it was really painful. And through that journey in pain, I learned that even the people that are really close to you can't experience the pain you're going through, and they don't have an understanding for it. And it can be a really lonely place to be in if you're going through a medical issue and you're suffering. That can be really lonely. And it took me a really long time to uncover that there was actually a lot of strength that came from going through that. So that's kind of why I got into long distance without realizing it was a vehicle for that healing. And, running really accepted me as I was, and being an imperfect human. Um, I realized through running, it's not about what you're capable of, it's what you're willing to do. So I completed my first 50K in 2022, and I had had a pretty major surgery in the spring of 2021. So even I had, these inklings in the back of my mind about, oh, well, like maybe this is like too much for your body, or maybe you shouldn't push yourself hard. And I did. I had like the first year I ran, even the second year I ran, like I always kind of treated it like, oh, I'm a wannabe, I'm just out here, like, you guys are the real athletes. And I used to think it was me being modest and not being egotistical, but it took me realizing this year and having like a training partner. I met my training partner in 2022 on a run with the Calgary Trail Runners, and I'm so lucky I met her. Like, my life has changed completely since meeting my training partner, but I met her, and I realized through meeting her that I didn't actually honor my own ability when I used to say, oh, I'm just a wannabe. And, I used to do a whole bunch of training and I was very capable and strong. And I'd always belittle myself by putting myself at the very back of the pack at the start of the race. And, I did that for the first 2 years that I ran. So 2022 and 2023, I never gave myself any credit. And it wasn't until this year that my training partner was like, you need to take more risks, and you need to want the finish more, because I was, you dabbling with longer distances, and I in turn I wasn't finishing my races because I got my 50 miles and then I couldn't. I kept DNFing. Like I've gotten to 91 kilometers and I've gotten to 86 kilometers. Um, but in those two races, I was in the 100-mile distance. So, even though I'm proud of my accomplishments and it's still a long way to go, I uh, I was kind of talking to my training partner and going, okay, what do I need? What's the edge that I need to finish? And she just said, like, look, you've done all the training. You're an accomplished athlete. Like, now you just need to toe the line and want it. And, there's risks in getting attached to that finish line, and you might cry, or you might feel a little worse if you don't get there, if you wanted a bit more. But like, she told me, she's like, get that competitive edge. So at Iron Legs this year, I started in the front. I towed the line. And it was the first race that I felt like I was actually racing. And even though I bonked hard 4 hours into the race, I felt something I've never felt before, and the support of the running community is what sparked that ambition and drive to get there. And I think that's amazing because the way I started running, I never thought that I was a strong athlete. I always thought I was clumsy and uncoordinated, and it was lucky that I was even there, that I was just fluked, somehow lucky to be there. And it was this year that I made the decision to, like, want a piece of the pie and like take more risks in order to get it. And that was kind of cool. It changed the way that I look at racing. So I had a really good race at Iron Horse, and I did my first 50 miles in 13 hours, which is way better than my last race last year. I Even though it was a mountain race, I did my first 50 miles in 16 hours or 15 hours. So 13 hours is amazing. And it's because I got smarter in my aid stations. My first year, I'd actually stop and whine and talk to, my crew about everything I'd seen. And this year, I was like, no, you know what? I'm not going to tell anyone anything until I'm done the race. And even if I'm not feeling good, I'm just going to be like, hey, good to see you guys, and just keep going, eat and walk, and spend less time in aid stations, because that's like a really key piece when you have like 7 aid stations. It's key to like keep moving and only plan to stop for certain ones before the night sections. So um even though it's been 3 years, I'm learning, I'm catching on. And I feel like that's what it takes. Every race is like getting puzzle pieces right, and there's a lot of things that have to go right in 100-mile distance. So um, I think that's why I love it so much, is that you can have all your support and your team members there, and things can still go wrong and you don't see them coming. Like, you don't know that your crew might think you're off course and call you and tell you to go back because you're off course and you're not actually off course. Like, things like that happen. And what I learned is that your team will show up for you, but they won't always show up in the way that you expect them to or that you think they will. And, humans aren't perfect. We don't always do the things that are perfect. Like, in my mind, having my pacer and at Iron Horse was gonna get me far. And what actually happened in reality was her tenacity and ability to push me broke me instead of actually getting me farther. And like, no one would have been able to foresee that. Um, and her intention was to like get me moving, and it broke me. So I am so grateful that people will drive out and spend a whole weekend, sacrificing a whole weekend of their time to like get me to my goals. That's amazing. I don't have that in any corners or aspects of my life except from perfect strangers in the running community. That just like makes me feel so good knowing that. And I do believe in myself now. And, I have regular doubts, but I think the thing is that I'm there and I don't let people's experiences shake me. Like, when I was getting my tattoo, everyone told me they're like, "Oh, the stomach is the worst place to get a tattoo. You're going to die." And in my mind I was like, "Okay, thanks for telling me." But at the same time I was thinking like I'm going to have my own experience and I'm not going to let them tell me what kind of experience I'm going to have. So I ended up going and having my tattoo, and the stomach actually wasn't the worst part. The backs of my knees were the worst part, and the tendons, the small tendons like beside your knees. So I got my own experience out of that, and I'm really good at keeping my in my own lane and knowing when someone's trying to inject their experience into your life. And um yeah, I am looking forward to my next race and running my own race and defending my own race. And um, I'm really excited. I was like thinking the other day, I was like, I hope I get sick soon because this race is on New Year's Eve. And it's kind of like flu season. And if I'm gonna get sick, I hope I get sick now so that I get the immunity for the race. I really don't want to get sick while I'm flying down there because that's another risk is getting sick on the flight down because it's Christmas, so there's so many travelers that go flying during Christmas. But um yeah, I'm looking forward to packing everything. I'm probably gonna bring like everything for my race in my backpacks to carry on the flight, and just bring my like sleeping bag and foamy and all the stuff that I'm going to be camping out at the race venue with in my carry or checked bag, because I want to make sure that my headlamp and everything for my outfit for the race is with me and doesn't get lost. It's a direct flight down, um, but they can still lose your luggage. I know that sounds crazy, but um, I've just done research and I know that everything I need for my race, including my battery packs and my charging cables and my mitts and um, everything like that, I'll need to have on me because I don't want to run the risk of not having it at the race. And I know that that happens a lot when people travel to Europe. They won't have their race kit, but people started to like fly with their race kit. Another cool thing is I won't need my running pack on my back. I'm just gonna run with two handhelds. So that's gonna be nice to have, not have like a whole bunch of self-supported gear on my back. I've never run a race without a pack on, so it'll be nice. The only thing I'm thinking that will be challenging is that it's a lot of concrete and it's not very scenic. So um, I'm just hoping to have some good music and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. It can be anywhere from -2 Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius. So it's going to be a little challenging to pack my outfits for it. And then at night, because it's a 24-hour race, I'll probably be walking pretty slowly or like moving pretty slowly. So I probably won't be wearing super light gear at night. Like I'll probably wear like a pretty nice jacket. So um starting to get excited. I booked my hotel. My flight's been booked for quite a while. I'm probably gonna get a rental car for I don't know most of the time, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.